Hey everybody, this is Dave Tribbett here, owner of V3Connect with another great Perks member interview. Today I'm here with Anthony Boyd, owner of Dual Myth Designs, and I'm super excited to be interviewing and spending a little time with Anthony today. It would be great, Anthony, if you could tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your business. That'd be great.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm Anthony Boyd, and I own Dual Myth Designs, which is a strategy and design firm here in Southern Oregon, in Medford. I primarily do strategy work. I do 70% strategy work, 30% design. So I spend a lot of my time working with small businesses, startups, or entrepreneurs who are going through some sort of transition. Either they're just starting out or they're getting to a next jump in their growth. And I help them with their branding, with their structuring, and making sure that their message is on point with their values, so that they are have a strong, resilient, and sustainable system.
There's a question that comes to mind that I've never actually asked you about, but you're phenomenally talented with what it is that you do. We've worked on a lot of projects and you've helped us with stuff as well with our consulting company, and you did this amazing design behind me here. I'm curious, how long does your history go back actually? So I don't think I've ever asked you this before in the design and kind of the stuff that you're doing now.
Yeah, so a long time. So yeah, so you first met me probably like 5 years ago when I was at Radio Shack. And before that, I had a few other sales gigs, and before that I did Circuit City, and before that I did a bunch of just entrepreneurial stuff. And so I've actually pretty much been an entrepreneur since high school at the very least. I was really passionate about it. I really love creating. I really love making experiences and stuff. And so the majority of the design work I do is in visual communications, right? So I do everything from printed work to advertisements to interactive media. And so with me, it's all about telling the story. It's all about the actual interaction with whoever's engaging with it. And
Great.
so that's the thing that I primarily focus on. But I've been doing creative work for about that long, and I've been doing sales and management work, like I said, all the way back until high school. So
Wonderful. Yeah, I was wondering about that because I never asked about that previously. There's an interesting thing that kind of plays out also where I hear from a lot of different entrepreneurs that you could learn to be a business owner, but there's something a little bit different about individuals who long-term become entrepreneurs. As an example, when I was a young kid, I was a lot different than my friends or siblings. I used to flip things. So I'd buy them, I'd fix up a bicycle, and I'd sell it for a 3, 4, 5-fold of what I did. I used to create items, and I'd take them to school and sell them. What is some of the earliest memories that you have of being an entrepreneur and filling that gap between a need and providing or filling, that with a product or service?
wow. I did a lot of the same, earliest would probably be like Pokemon cards. Like pretty much actually before that, when I was really little, one of my uncles actually got me like a stamp collection. And so like I collected stamps for a little while. And even before that I collected rocks for a little while, right? And so I've always been fascinated with like something's story, right? So like rocks have a story based off of like what day that you found it somewhere. Stamps have a long story, right? And then when I got older, right, probably like middle school, and I was into Pokemon and all that other stuff. Kids were back then. It was a really like collect it all type of mentality, right? Like all the fast food chains had like different toys that you could collect if you like bought enough of them at different times, right? And so I think my generation kind of grew up with that like finding, collecting things kind of mentality, and
Yeah.
that just always worked for me. And then all the way as soon as I got a car, I was doing trips to San Francisco and Chinatown and stuff, and buying things from like the little markets and bringing them back and selling them out of my trunk and stuff like that. And so, I've always kind of had that kind of drive and spirit that you're probably saying other people have mentioned as well.
Yeah, because a lot of people say that it goes back. It usually has like an origin. And just to date myself a little bit, I think for me it was called like Pogs or something
Oh
like that.
yes.
and you have these slammers, and you like
Yeah.
trade them, and there are all kinds of different ones. And then I know before that, which was a little bizarre, were like cabbage, what was it, garbage pail kit, something like that, cards. It was like all these drawings that were like really sketchy and stuff,
Yeah, they're
but
like garbage pail kids or something. Yeah, I know what
yeah, and they were like collectors, and then before that, it was like baseball cards and different kinds of things. And it's interesting because I think there's a certain amount of grit and determination that goes hand in hand with that. While a lot of my friends were having fun, I was always coming up with something to create cash flow. So um, what are, like, if you had two elements that you think are really key for an person out there, they're watching this video, maybe in the audience, and they're like, I wonder if I should like step out. And I've been thinking about it like a lot of people do. They have these ideas, but they're like, I wonder if I should really step out and do something for myself or take a chance. What do you think are two critical pieces for you as an entrepreneur that would be difficult to do what you do without those skills? Like, what are two things that a person should have or develop?
well, the first one would definitely be able to ask that question, right? So many people go through their lives and they pretty much do what gets handed to them, right? And so being the type of person that asks the questions, hey, maybe I could do this, and like do something that's kind of against the norm and like challenge kind of the status quo when it comes to finding my own happiness. That's honestly where it starts. And then the next big thing I would probably say is being able to find a purpose, right? Um, in a lot of the work that I do with my clients, a lot of these people are people that they started the business by themselves. They didn't have a ton of direction when they did, but they had a purpose. They had something they wanted to achieve, right? And so that's really the thing that you need, right? Everything else is just kind of dressing, right? How you get there, how well you get there, all that stuff. That's just the adventure along the way. In fact, one of the things that one of my sayings that I say is design is the adventure between art and logic. When I work with my clientele, when I'm working with designing things, whether or not it's structures for the system or visual communication stuff, you know, uh, the art is how it gets represented, but the logic has to be there, right? Like there has to be a purpose. There has to be like being able to see that purpose and know what direction it is so you can pursue it is something that is like hand in hand with the entrepreneurial spirit, I think.
Great. That's great insight. I appreciate you sharing that, and I know a lot of people would get value from that. Another thing that it makes me think of is in a world that's so driven by more, better, faster type of mentality. How do you define success within your life, within your business?
How do I define success? For me, it would probably have to do with fulfillment, right? Success changes day to day, right? I wear a lot of hats. Um, I'm someone who designs things. I'm someone who's creative. I'm someone who thinks analytically. You know, I'm a husband and a father, and I have a lot of roles that I play, and success has to do with in my life or whatever I'm pursuing, there being some sort of sense of fulfillment, right? And so I think that kind of goes back to what I was just saying is that it has to do with finding purpose. So for me, is fulfilling that purpose, right? So one of the things that we touched on a little bit is the fact that having some sort of value over profit, right? If you're just pursuing money isn't always going to stay around because you need to spend it on something, right? And so a lot of times people who pursue money don't necessarily find happiness, right? Because they're not really fulfilled. Now, if you have a purpose and you want to there's a certain thing that you want to obtain or achieve, you probably need money to get there, right? And so money is a method, right? But it's a means, but it's not an end. And
Yeah.
so for me, success really has to do with understanding what a purpose at any time is, right? Because it can change a lot. Figuring out what your purpose is at any given time and finding the means to obtain it.
I appreciate that, and more than you know, because a lot of individuals, in our world, and even if you're trying to get finance as a new business owner, they really do look at profit, right? And I think it could be a component, but I definitely agree with you that there has to be something beyond that. With everything going on with COVID-19 right now, um, it's a world-changing impact, right? Because if you were somebody that was caught in like a horrible storm in the east or in the south or something, and you weren't able to regain what your livelihood is, which a lot of people are dealing with that right now, um, right now it's impacting our whole entire world. So, what kind of timely message during the time of COVID-19, and both of us deal with business owners, what do you think would really be helpful or inspiring or insightful that you would like to share with them to maybe give them a little bit of hope, or maybe help them to realize that that they can continue, they can persevere in this very difficult time?
Um, well, a big part of it is kind of in the question. It's hope, right? Don't panic, pivot, right? So with something as important as your livelihood, as your business, don't make snap judgments and don't act without being strategic, right? Uh, take time, take account, think about what your options are. If you can't think of any options, find someone who can think of options for you, right? Be someone who can look at something at a bigger picture and realize that what's going on right now is just momentary. Um, and that's what you need to pursue is you need to pursue the goal after this is all done. Surviving is important, right? And making sure that you have an efficient system, making sure that you have an effective system, those are all things that, have to do with the viability of a business model, right? And so this has really shown a lot of people that their business models might not be very viable post COVID,
Yeah.
or if anything else happens, right? And so being able to have hope that there are options and to think outside the box and being able to look for a solution instead of just being upset or complain or heartbroken over the difficulties that we've had to go through. Being an agent of change is really the only way that you can make sure that you can be agile enough to survive long term, I think.
Yeah, it's a great point. I guess, in a lot of cases, good enough is just not good enough anymore. And the companies, we had talked about this before, that we're building for the future are doing a lot better now. And the business owners should be comfortable with actually reaching out to us, because um, we're really good with our time, and our passion, I think, for both of us, not to speak for you, is to help those business owners in good times and in bad times, if I'm not mistaken, um, in the work that we do, right? Uh,
Absolutely. I mean,
so I,
there's a lot of businesses out there that are service based that um, the success of our clients are the only way that we can be successful, right? And so going out there and finding people that have the same values as you and are aligned with you in the purpose that you want to achieve is really just a great thing to do.
Absolutely. As we wind out this interview today, I wonder, with all of the options out there in this world for referral platforms, when we first engaged in stuff, what did it mean to become part of V3Connect for you, and the different projects and things we worked on over the years, I should say?
Well, I mean, that really has to do with when we met and we talked, we had a lot of conversations before you came to me talking about V3Connect, and it was very apparent that our values were aligned, right? Like we both wanted to change the local community in a way, the local business community, and give them opportunity and growth and see a more prosperous Rogue Valley. And those were things that I really aligned with. I really think that, going back to some of the things that we said earlier about, getting something cheaper or faster or whatever, a lot of times that has to do with, the impact that you have on an area, right? So like going with someone locally is going to help the local economy, is going to help the local, business community. And it's going to probably give you a more, intimate and real and closer to the goal that you want, because they know, because they're local, right? they know the things that you have to deal with. They know what works or what doesn't work. And so, versus going through someone necessarily like online or something like that, you know, being able to be a part of a local community, a local network where I can be able to engage with people, provide vetted services is something that has been kind of just a no-brainer for me ever since we first started talking about it.
Great. I appreciate you sharing that. And that was regional or localized connections really do make a difference, because a lot of people tried a lot of things and they're just in this massive ecosystem of millions of people, and they try to then figure out how do I even get found? How do I stand out? You had mentioned community a couple of times. What does it look like for you? Your work in the community and nonprofit work and things. What are those community ties for you? And then lastly, I'd like to finish out the interview today with how people can connect with you.
Yeah, sure. So I am open to work with just about any businesses. I have a pretty large load right now, but I mix up a lot of my work. I don't spend all my time working with just incorporated like businesses. I spend a fair amount of my time working with nonprofits or entrepreneurs, people who aren't quite established yet. And so I spend a lot of my time building a community. I really see the people who are the nonprofits as being the ones that provide a lot of service for a community. And then I really see the people who are entrepreneurs as the ones who are going to be the next level of business owners. And so I make sure that I split up my time pretty evenly. And I spend a lot of time working with the local colleges as well. I run student studios and whatnot out of those, making sure that they have the skills in my particular industry that they can be successful when they get out into the actual industry and help the Valley. So.
And what is your website? How do people connect with you? And I'll be sure to link everything in below as well, so people are able to follow up with you. What's your website, and how best can a person connect with you?
Yeah, so you can connect with me through, I have a landing page at geomythdesigns.com. And you can just scroll down to the bottom and fill that out, and I'll get right back to you. You can also find me online at Facebook or on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate everybody's time and attention for this Perks member interview, and I'll make sure that you guys are able to connect with Anthony. He's a phenomenal individual, highly skilled in what it is he does, and I'm glad that we had the time today to talk.
Absolutely, always a pleasure.
Have a great day.
You as well.